Hello, my name is Hasan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast, Shorts. There's no co-host on these Shorts episodes. These are now around 6 to 8 minute long observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 6 to 8 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book that has been sitting in your Amazon queue that you just haven't been able to bring yourself to purchase for around the last 6 months. Leadership, all leadership, begins with accountability and ownership. We know this in principle in our own time, but we seem to have forgotten it in practice. The sense that we are losing accountability has been with us for some time now, well over 20 years, from the political spheres, from September 11th, the 2008 financial crisis, and even that contra Trump known as COVID, all the way to the cultural fields of sports and entertainment. Think about it. When was the last time a Hollywood studio head came out publicly, admitted that they created a product few people want to see, and apologized profusely for wasting your valuable time and attention? Right. Look, this lack of accountability and ownership doesn't begin in the C-suite. It doesn't begin in your state house or even the Congress and the White House. And it will not be solved by some entertainer or even by a civic leader. This lack of accountability and ownership begins closer than you think. It begins in your home. From two-parent families outsourcing their children's education to the state, all the way to one-parent households struggling to cling really to the bottom rung of an unraveling economy, the people who are role modeling a lack of accountability are actually us. And if I am to go further, it's men, quite frankly. Single men, married men, men with kids on the side, quote unquote, men simping for women on OnlyFans, men consuming pornography and playing video games, men working below their potential and hanging out in their parents' basements. It's men who are most responsible for being accountable for the state of their homes, their families, their neighborhoods, and the communities they are in. If you don't like hearing this, or if you're a woman who believes that she's as good as a man, well, then leadership is probably not for you. If you are cheering as I am speaking, you might want to pause, look around, and ask yourself the question, where am I not taking accountability and ownership in all my spheres of influence this very day? Look, men must be accountable to other men. They must be accountable to women, and they must be accountable to children who are closest to them in their sphere of influence first, before our society can begin to even repair itself. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not talking about abusing authority or behaving in an authoritarian fashion. Andrew Tate, Hunter Biden, and Harvey Weinstein all share a particular strain of DNA. But if we in the United States collectively want to repair our national culture, men must demonstrate the grit and courage to do so. There's no one coming to save us, and there are very few leaders out there actually getting the job done. As the greatest leader in Western history once noted, well over 2,000 years ago now, and I quote, "When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, 'The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest.'" Close quote. Matthew 9:35 through 38. For my part, I agree. First get to praying, and then get to laboring. Time is, as always, of the essence. And well, That's it for me. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast today. And now that you've made it this far, you should subscribe to the audio version of this show on all the major podcast players, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are available. There's also a video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the Leadership Toolbox channel on YouTube. Just search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button there on YouTube. And while you're doing that, leave a 5-star review if you like what we're doing here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just go below the player and hit 5 stars. We need those reviews to grow, and it's the easiest way to help grow this show. And tell all your friends, of course, in leadership. By the way, if you don't like what we're doing here, well, you can always listen to another leadership show. There are several other good ones out there. At least that's what I've heard. All right. Well, that's it for me.